You ever had to make that choice, that tough choice, those painstaking, heart-wrenching decisions, like after work or after church or after the gym, when you turn to your spouse or your partner and you say, "Hey, where do you want to eat?" And you always get that, "Oh, I don't care. Anywhere is fine." Is it just me? Am I the only one that goes through that? And then you make 15 suggestions and none of those suggestions actually pan out the way you want to? Yeah. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. I want you to think just for a moment on the grand scheme of life, how often we make decisions that we feel like they're decisions for right now. We often don't even think about how those decisions for right now will make an impact 20 minutes from now, 45 minutes from now, an hour from now, much less a year, 5 years, or 10 years from now. To contrast that notion, I remember having a roommate before I joined the military almost 30 years ago. And before I joined the military, this roommate was funny. We worked together in the same store. We hung out together quite a bit. We became roommates. And then I found out that he stole a bunch of stuff from me. I didn't think of anything about it because all the stuff that he stole from me, I eventually got back. Well, a few years go by and I actually get pulled over for a brake light being out and they take me to jail because there's an outstanding warrant. Turns out when my roommate stole stuff from me, years before, one of the things he did was wrote a bunch of hot checks out of my checkbook, not knowing that I had already closed the account because I was leaving for basic training. So here I am sitting in jail because I chose a roommate because I thought he was a friend and it turned out all along he wasn't. But while I was sitting there, one of the young men that I ran into in jail was serving 5 years for aggravated burglary of a home. And his reward, what he chose to steal, was a head of lettuce. A head of lettuce. Now, both of those choices were very, very similar in that we chose the wrong friends and chose the wrong action, which ended up in a bad result. And we both ended up in the bad place. The difference was when they realized that all of mine was forgery, et cetera, and I didn't have anything to do with it, they dismissed all the charges and completely removed it from my record. He, on the other hand, made the same choices about who to hang out with and what kind of things to do, and he ended up serving time as a result of it. Now, when you're going through those really small choices, the little tiny decisions, you might be thinking, well, maybe this is a girl to marry, maybe this is just a girl to date. Maybe he's just good to go out with now because he has money and he buys all the drinks or he takes me to these fancy places, but he's not the guy I would want raising my children. And you might think a little bit of long term that way, but do you really allow every tiny decision to invest itself in your future? My wife and I went to lunch yesterday. We sat down to the place that we wanted to eat, and she told me what she wanted to eat, and then she looked all over the menu for it and couldn't find it. She said, "I don't know why it's not there. I just saw it on a TV ad the other day." And so I replayed the lyrics of the ad for it. She goes, "Yeah, that's the one." I said, "Yeah, it's for a different restaurant. You can ask for that all you want to here, and they don't have it. Because the decision to come to this restaurant eliminated that option." See, we all make decisions through the course of our life about where we'll go to school or not, whether we'll join the military or not, whether we'll drive 85 miles an hour in a 75 mile an hour zone or not. Some of those decisions, like what kind of car will I have when I get my driver's license, some of those decisions seem like choices we get to make all on our own and nobody else has any input. It's my choice. But there might be a budget issue that determines whether you drive a Lexus or a Ford. There might be an income issue that decides whether it's a Lexus or a Lamborghini. Sometimes there are circumstances around you that decide, but you know what? It's not the circumstances in that moment that will make that decision. It's the circumstances now. It's the choices you make now with the options you have now that will determine the future options you're going to have. You find yourself in jail, who you marry may become inconsequential. You may not have that choice. You find yourself in bankruptcy court because you didn't pay the bills that you had, from medical bills to student loans. Where you buy that house, whether it's Florida or California, may become irrelevant. And suddenly, the choices you made yesterday impact the choices you make today and 5 years from now. All I'm saying is, as a leader, you have to make the first set of choices for yourself and all of those that you influence. But the decisions you make right now, today, will impact your future and other people's as well. And I'm challenging you to make those choices, the small ones today, in light of the ones that are coming, not just for the moment. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.